A week ago, DJI released their latest flagship Action 6 camera, but Insta360 didn't wait quietly in the background. Instead, they launched what is probably the biggest upgrade they ever made for their Insta360 Ace Pro 2. And when I started testing these two cameras side by side, I honestly expected the DJI Action 6 to easily take the lead in certain areas. But after spending days shooting in different conditions, low light, harsh light, sunrise, sunset, wide angles, zooming, stabilization tests, photography and sound checks, I realized the results were not what I thought they would be. Some parts were surprising in a good way, some in a strange way, and some in a way like kind of wait, why did DJI do this? And considering the current promo deal where Insta360 sells the Ace Pro 2 together with two batteries and a hard shell case for the exact same price as a standalone Action 6, this comparison suddenly becomes even more important for anyone who is trying to choose their next camera. DJI is clearly aiming for high-spec hardware supremacy, while Insta360 is aiming for the best user experience on the market. So today's comparison is not just another spec sheet battle, it's a real-world test between high-spec functionality and actual usability, which depending on your shooting style might matter even more. Let's start with low light performance, because this is usually where action cameras struggle the most. In absolutely complete darkness, it doesn't matter which camera you use. Both Action 6 and Ace Pro 2 are practically blind. You can barely make out silhouettes, and there is no usable detail in regular video mode. Turning on the dedicated night modes, PureVideo on the Ace Pro 2 and SuperNight on Action 6 doesn't magically fix this. You get a bit more light, but not enough to call it an improvement for real filmmaking. So let's move from total darkness to a more realistic night environment with some street lighting. For this comparison, I recorded the Action 6 in D-Log M, so I could color grade it later, and I shot the Ace Pro 2 mostly in the flat profile, which also gives more flexibility in editing. At 4K 30fps in regular mode, the Ace Pro 2 produced a cleaner and more detailed image, especially in the shadow areas. However, the stabilization struggled more during quick movements, which created a slightly jitter look. Meanwhile, the Action 6 had noticeably better stabilization, making walking footage smoother, but the image was filled with noise and grain, especially in darker corners. After enabling the dedicated low-light modes on both cameras, the Ace Pro 2 suddenly cleaned up the footage dramatically and stabilized movement much better. The Action 6 also reduced noise and smoothed things out, but the Ace Pro 2 still held a clear advantage in clarity and color accuracy. And before sunrise, when everything is covered in soft blue light, both cameras performed similarly at first glance, but when I looked closely, the Action 6 introduced flickering in certain lighting transitions, especially around brighter lamps or reflections. The Ace Pro 2 handled these changes more gracefully. Both cameras looked a bit jerky because of the low lighting, but the Ace Pro 2 kept more micro details in the darker areas. Then I turned both cameras directly towards the rising sun, with a warm red-orange glow visible above the horizon. This is where the Ace Pro 2 pulled ahead again, delivering more textures in the clouds and more detail in the gradient of the sky. The Action 6 looked smoother and a bit softer, which might appeal to some people, but it still had some minor flickering that was impossible to ignore. As the day progressed and the lighting became stronger, both cameras finally reached their comfort zone. The image quality increased dramatically on both sides. The Action 6 delivered a cleaner, softer look with slightly punchier colors. The Ace Pro 2 delivered more detail, sharper lines, and more dynamic range. You can really feel the differences in the processing philosophy. DJI prefers a smoother, cleaner image that looks polished but sometimes over-blurred, while Insta360 tries to preserve as much detail as possible, even if it means exposing some natural grain. One of the Ace Pro 2's biggest advantage is 8K video. If you shoot for big screens, documentaries, or creative reframing, 8K can make a massive difference. And it's still puzzling why DJI didn't include 8K in the Action 6. This is their brand new flagship launched in 2025, and the entire industry is moving towards a higher resolution, so this limitation feels more like a strategic decision rather than a technical one. So now, let's talk about zoom. The Ace Pro 2 allows smooth zooming in and out while filming. It's one of those features you don't think you need until you use it. It lets you adjust framing dynamically without stopping the recording. The Action 6 doesn't allow this at all. You cannot zoom during the recording. If you want to zoom, you must set the zoom level before you start filming and commit to it. For an action camera in this price range, This feels outdated and restrictive, especially when Insta360 is focusing so heavily on creative flexibility. Next is audio quality. Based on my test, the Action 6 audio is louder, but still the wind noise wasn't cancelled as good as on Ace Pro 2. Just listen yourself.
Let's also perform the wind test. We have a slight wind today, and also some dogs are barking far away, some cars are running, but let's hear how the noise cancellation will work on both cameras. I heard a lot of good reviews that Action 6 is one of the best noise cancellation, but as well the Ace Pro 2 last year, actually this year, but in the beginning introduced kind of some super advanced noise cancellation. Let's compare and let's see what you think, guys. So which camera has the best noise cancellation, has better, Ace Pro 2 or DJI Action 6?
Moving to photos, Insta360 recently released a photography kit for the Ace Pro 2. It's surprisingly fun to use, and the images themselves look sharper and more balanced compared to the Action 6. The colors look more natural, and the dynamic range seems to hold better, especially in black-lit scenes. And the ability to print directly from the camera adds a nostalgic, almost instant camera feeling to the experience. It's something I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did. The Action 6 still delivers strong photos, but the Ace Pro 2 consistently gave me more keepers. I'm curious what you think when you compare the photos side by side. Now let's move on to the field of view. I switched the Ace Pro 2 to its action mode and the Action 6 to its ultra-wide mode. And the Ace Pro 2 is clearly wider. You can see more of the surroundings, more sky, more ground. And when you consider that the Ace Pro 2 supports an optional 189-degree ultra-wide boost lens, while the Action 6 maxes out at 185 degrees, the differences become even more dramatic. If you want the absolute widest perspective for immersive shots, then the Ace Pro 2 is better option. When it comes to log shooting, DJI uses D-Log-M, which is not a full log profile. It's a flatter, more flexible 10-bit profile, but it still has a DJI processing baked in. The Ace Pro 2 uses iLog, which is a true log profile, but limited to 8-bit. In real use, iLog looks more natural and gives you better control in color grading, but the 8-bit depth means you need to be careful with pushing shadows and highlights too far. If Insta360 releases a 10-bit iLog in the future, it could become one of the best log profiles in the action camera world. Let's talk about hardware advantages. The Action 6 has a larger square sensor, which helps in certain lighting conditions, especially indoors. The new flexible aperture system also gives you better exposure control, and the battery life is around 30% longer than Ace Pro 2. That's really impressive. But there is a catch, because DJI changed the physical dimension of the Action 6 compared to the Action 4 and Action 5. Many existing accessories no longer fit. That includes snap-on ND filters, CPL filters, cages, housing, and a lot more mounts. If you are coming from the older DJI model, upgrading to the Action 6 means replacing most of your accessory. The Ace Pro 2, despite having a slightly smaller sensor with a fixed aperture 2.6, competes extremely well in image quality thanks to its processing pipeline and software features. And Insta360 ecosystem is massive. They offer more modes, more creative shooting options, more lens attachments, more grips, more mounts, more editing tools, and smarter overall usability. When you use the camera day after day, you notice that everything is designed to make your life easier. So here's the bottom line. If you want a camera that focuses mainly on shooting video with a strong hardware and long battery life, then DJI Action 6 is a good choice. But if you want an entire creative ecosystem that is user-friendly, flexible, expandable, and truly fun to use, then Insta360 Ace Pro 2 is a winner for you. In the next episode, I'll compare the Action 6 versus DJI Osmo 360 side by side, and that comparison is going to be a lot of fun. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye.